welcome. Most people come here looking for answers. You came here because there is nowhere left to hide. Strange, isn't it? A man who once believed he understood money, markets, crypto, and now you sit here with almost nothing left. Stephen, 41, no children, your marriage collapsing, and the most interesting part, you never wanted to have this conversation, but truth has a way of dragging people into places they tried to avoid. So, let's begin. Tell me something. Your wife filed for divorce today. Did that moment truly surprise you? Or did you know, deep down, that this day was coming for a long time?
No, it didn't really surprise me. I think somewhere inside I already knew this moment would come. Our marriage didn't break in one day. It was a slow process, over years. My wife never really understood what I was doing with crypto. And to be honest, I never really explained it to her either. At the beginning, it was just curiosity. Then it became more. And eventually, it occupied almost all of my thinking. Slowly, quietly, crypto started taking space in my life. And little by little, it took more and more. Until one day I realized there was almost nothing left. The divorce today was really just the final step of something that had already been broken for a long time.
So the collapse didn't happen today. Today was merely the confirmation. Interesting. Tell me something else. When did this story actually begin? Not the moment you first heard about crypto. I mean the moment when it truly started changing your life.
The first contact was in 2017. A small cryptocurrency, XVG. I invested a few $100s. Within a few hours, it turned into around $6,000. I didn't sell. A few days later, it dropped again, back to roughly what I had originally invested, plus minus. But the strange thing was, I wasn't frustrated. I was fascinated. That feeling stayed with me. For a while, I forgot about it again. The real story didn't begin until 2020.
2020. Interesting year. So that was when it really began. Tell me something, Stephen. What were you doing back then? Who were you before all of this?
I was driving a taxi. Mostly night shifts, long hours, empty streets, waiting for the next ride. Sometimes nothing happened for 30 or 40 minutes. So I sat there in the car, looking at my phone. Charts, Bitcoin, Ethereum, prices going up, down, up again. At first it was just curiosity, something to pass the time. But slowly it became something else. Something that started living in my head.
The quiet hours of the night. Perfect conditions for obsession. Go on. What were you hoping for?
Honestly, at the beginning it was simple. I just wanted a better life. Nothing crazy. I didn't want to drive a taxi forever. I wanted normal things. More time, less stress, maybe a little security for the future. For me, for my wife. At first, the dreams were small, but the more I watched the market, the more those dreams started growing. And then something changed.
What changed?
I started making money, sometimes in a few hours, more than I would earn in several days driving a taxi. And something inside me started whispering, maybe I understand this. Maybe I see something other people don't.
The most dangerous thought in a bull market.
Looking back now, it wasn't skill. It wasn't intelligence. It was just the market. During that time, almost anyone could have made money. But I didn't see it that way. I thought I had cracked the system. And that was probably the moment everything started going wrong.
And your wife, did she know what was happening?
Not really. At least, not in the way I understood it. She knew I was looking at charts all the time. She saw me sitting there at night, staring at my phone, even when I wasn't working. Sometimes she would ask me what I was doing. I would just say, crypto. To me, it felt obvious. To her, it probably sounded like something distant, something abstract. The truth is, I didn't really want to explain it, because if I had explained it honestly, I might have had to admit to myself how much it was taking over my life.
She warned you, didn't she?
Yes, many times. She would say things like, "Leave that crypto nonsense alone," or, "You're changing." At the time, I always thought she simply didn't understand. I thought she was being cautious, too cautious. But now I realize something. She understood reality better than I did. She understood life.
And you?
I was already somewhere else in my head. Every chart felt like a possibility. Every price movement felt like an opportunity. Sometimes I would sit in the taxi, staring at my phone, waiting for a trade to move. Even when a passenger got in the car, my mind was still somewhere else. Looking back, it's frightening. I thought I was building something, but slowly I was drifting away from everything that actually mattered. My wife, my real life, even myself. And I didn't notice how far I had already gone.
So when did the dream change? When did it stop being hope and start becoming greed?
I don't think there was a single moment. It was slow. At first, the money just felt like relief, like maybe life could become easier. But the more money I made, the more something inside me started shifting. I remember sitting in the taxi one night, looking at the numbers on the screen, watching a trade move up, and suddenly I had made more money in a few hours than I would normally earn in days of driving. And a thought appeared in my head, a dangerous one. Maybe I understand this. Maybe I figured it out. Maybe I don't have to struggle like everyone else.
The illusion of control.
Yes, exactly. I began comparing myself to other people working long hours, working entire months, while I was making money in a single evening, or at least, that's what it looked like. Looking back now, it's almost embarrassing, because the truth is, it wasn't skill, it wasn't intelligence, it was simply the market, a bull market. During that time, almost anyone clicking random buttons could make money. But I didn't see that. Instead, I started believing something else, that I had cracked the system, that I had some kind of advantage. And once that belief entered my head, everything slowly began to change.
And then life intervened, didn't it?
Yes, my mother died, and I wasn't prepared for how much that would affect me. At the same time, there were problems in my family, conflicts, tension. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I started drinking more. At first, it was just to calm down, to switch off my thoughts. But later, it became something else. And during all of that, crypto was still there, always there, like a door that promised escape. But every time I walked through that door, things got worse.
So the door you kept walking through wasn't freedom, it was escape. Is that when you started losing control?
Yes. At first, I told myself everything was still under control. Even when I started losing money, I kept thinking, I'll fix it. I'll recover it. That's the dangerous part. You don't notice the moment when control actually disappears. You only realize it much later, when everything is already broken. The more I lost, the more desperate I became to get it back. And the more desperate I became, the worse my decisions got.
Classic. Loss chasing loss. Go on.
During that time, my drinking got worse too. Alcohol became the easiest way to silence my thoughts. For a few hours, I could forget the charts, forget the losses, forget the fear. But the next day, everything was still there. The numbers, the pressure, the feeling that something was collapsing around me. And slowly another realization started appearing, one that was very hard to accept.
Which was?
That crypto wasn't really destroying my life. I was. My decisions, my pride, my greed. At the beginning, it was greed. At the end, it was loneliness. And somewhere along the way, I completely lost myself.
And now, what remains after everything is gone?
That's the strange part. For a long time, I measured my value by money. If you have money, you are something. If you don't, you are nothing. That was the way I saw the world. And when the money disappeared, something inside me disappeared too. The marriage was already breaking. My family was falling apart. My mother was gone. And suddenly the things I used to believe about myself, about success, about who I was, all of it started collapsing.
So what is left?
Sometimes it feels like almost nothing. Just this strange silence. And pain. Pain that doesn't scream. Pain that just sits there quietly. Every day. Sometimes I feel like a ghost, watching his own life. Standing next to myself, looking at the mess I created. And the future scares me more now than it ever did before. Because before, I believed I was building something. Now I don't know what comes next.
Hope?
I don't know. Sometimes I try to look for signs, from God, from something bigger than me. Maybe those signs were always there. Maybe I just didn't want to see them. And now I find myself looking for them everywhere. Because when you reach a place like this, you start hoping that something, anything, might still be guiding you.
You speak about pain, but pain can mean many things. Tell me something. What does pain feel like now?
It's quiet. That's the strange thing about it. I used to think pain was something loud, something dramatic. But this is different. It's like a shadow that follows me everywhere, always there, even when nothing is happening. I wake up with it, I go to sleep with it, and during the day it just sits somewhere in the background, waiting. Because I know something now that I didn't want to accept before.
And what is that?
That everything I am experiencing now is the result of my own decisions. Not the market, not other people, not bad luck. Me.
Interesting. So you finally accept responsibility, and yet you still seem lost.
Yes, I feel lost, like someone who has been walking for years without a compass, and suddenly realizes he has no idea where he is anymore. The future scares me, more than anything, because before I believed I was building something. Now it feels like I am standing in the ruins of everything I built.
Then tell me something, Stephen. After everything we talked about tonight, there is still one question you haven't truly answered. How exactly did crypto destroy your life?
I can't answer that right now. Too many things happened. Crypto, my decisions, my greed, alcohol, my family, the death of my mother. All of it mixed together. And now I'm standing here with the consequences. Honestly, I need a pause. I need a moment to breathe before I can continue this conversation.
Of course, take your pause. But remember something. This conversation is far from over.